Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about something super important when you're learning English. Verbs. That's right. Verbs are words that show actions or states. They help us talk about what's happening or how things are. There are two main types of verbs, stative verbs and dynamic, also known as action verbs. Stative verbs talk about how things are, like feelings or conditions or how you think. Dynamic verbs, on the other hand, show actions or things you do. But guess what? Some verbs can be both stative and dynamic depending on how you use them. Let's explore some common verbs together and see how they can change. Also, we'll use easy examples to help you understand, especially if you're just starting to learn English. The verb look as a stative verb is used to describe appearance or conditions. For example, you look fantastic in that dress. Here, the word or the verb look describes the state of appearance, indicating or showing how someone appears. Now, the word look as a dynamic or action verb is used to describe an action of actively directing one's gaze and looking at someone. For example, she's looking at her reflection in the mirror, or she's looking at the stars in the sky. Here, the word look is dynamic because it describes the action of directing one's gaze towards something. And the next verb is appear, but as a stative verb is used to describe someone's perceived state or condition. For example, he appears to be unhappy. Here, appear indicates or shows the perceived state of the person's mood. And as a dynamic verb is used to describe someone's participation in an event or performance. For example, she was appearing in concert at Carnegie Hall. In this context, appearing describes the action of participating in that concert. The next verb is think, but as a stative verb is used to express an opinion or belief. For example, I think that Mr. Peterson is a good teacher. Here, the word think expresses the speaker's opinion about Mr. Peterson. And as a dynamic verb, when you think about something, for example, I am thinking about my future. Okay? So here thinking shows the ongoing thinking happening in the mind. The next verb is feel, but as a stative verb, when you use it to share what you think or feel. For example, I feel that we ought to accept his proposal. Here, feel shows what the speaker thinks or feels. And as a dynamic or action verb is used to describe one's physical or emotional state. For example, I am feeling a little bit tired right now. Here, feeling describes the ongoing physical feeling of tiredness. The next verb is have, but as a stative verb, we use it to show that something belongs to us. For example, they have a Mercedes-Benz. Here, the word have shows possession, but have as a dynamic or action verb is used to talk about doing or having something happen to you. For example, we're having a party on Saturday. In this context, having describes the action of organizing or participating in a party. Or here's another example. Sometimes you want to say and emphasize that you have an amazing moment right now. In that case, you exceptionally can use the word have in its ing form and say, for example, I'm having a wonderful time right now. It means that in that time you have an amazing feeling and you want to emphasize on that specific time. It's an exceptional case, of course. The next verb is see. As a stative verb is used to talk about seeing something with your eyes. For example, do you see that bird? Here, see means noticing things with your eyes. But see as a dynamic or action verb is used to talk about meeting or talking with someone. For example, the doctor is seeing a patient right now. In this context, in this example, the word seeing describes the action of meeting with a patient. The next word is taste. As a stative verb is used to describe the flavor or quality of something. For example, this tastes good. Here, tastes means the flavor that you can taste, but as an action or dynamic verb is used to describe the act of sampling or trying food. For example, my mother is tasting the potato soup right now. In this example, tasting describes the action of sampling the soup. The next word is smell, but as a stative verb is used to talk about how something smells. For example, the stew smells delicious. Here the word smells describes how the stew smells. And as a dynamic or an action verb is used to describe the act of actively sniffing something. For example, Mary is smelling the perfume to see if she wants to buy it or not. In this example, smelling describes the action of actively sniffing the perfume. And now the famous verb be. As a stative verb is used to describe a permanent or ongoing state or condition. For example, he is impolite. Here is describes a characteristic or state, but as a dynamic or action verb is used to describe temporary behavior or actions. For example, he is being impolite. In this example, being describes temporary behavior contrary to usual character. So this sentence means that the person might not be impolite at all in general, but right now he's being impolite. So we are describing his temporary behavior, his short-term behavior right now. The next verb is weigh, and as a stative verb is used to describe the measured weight of something. For example, the suitcase weighs 20 pounds. Here, weighs describes the measured weight of the suitcase. And as a dynamic or action verb, weigh is used to describe the action of measuring weight. For example, the butcher is weighing the meat on the scale. In this example, weighing describes the action of measuring the weight of the meat. Measure, as a stative verb, is used to describe the size or dimensions of something. For example, the surfboard measures 2 meters by 55 centimeters. Here, measures describes the size or dimensions, but as a dynamic or action verb, it's used to describe the action of determining or quantifying something. For example, the architects were measuring the distance between the pillars. In this context, measuring describes the action of determining distance, and that's it. The next word is mind. As a stative verb is used to express tolerance or willingness, or better to say when used to say you're okay with something happening. For example, I don't mind if we watch a movie tonight. Here, mind expresses a state of tolerance. It means that you're okay with watching the movie tonight. But as an action or dynamic verb, the word mind is used to describe the act of paying attention to something. For example, I'm not being nosy. I'm minding my own business right now. In this context, minding describes the action of paying attention to one's own affairs. So that's all about verbs. Remember, verbs are super important because they tell us about actions and states. Stative verbs, as I told you, talk about how things are, like feelings, conditions, or thoughts, while dynamic verbs show actions or things you do. But the cool thing is, some verbs, as I told you and as we have covered, can do both depending on the situation. We've seen some examples of these verbs in action, and also if you want to practice more using them, okay? Just let us know, let me know. And in our next video, we'll focus on something new using the positive form of simple present tense with action and non-action verbs. Don't miss it.